Hey, I tried my best to make this a cinematic experience for you, so if you could like the video for the effort, I greatly appreciate it. Also, toss some headphones in, and let's paint a picture. It's May 17th, 2022. And you're waiting for the start of the Year 6 anniversary broadcast. There have been talks of a monster killer being announced with a new map in Survivor, and a lot of people are very excited because at this time, there are no other monster killers available. The Demogorgon had been pulled from the shelves months prior, and every other killer in this game resembles a human in some way, shape, or form. Out of all of the killers available to purchase at the time, there were no monsters. For a self-proclaimed horror game, there was a lot of untapped potential that a lot of people were excited to see. And then it happens during the broadcast. The Dredge was announced with a new chapter, Roots of Dread.
So the Dredge is inspired by the Boogeyman, a story that is global and is known around many cultures. It's a domestic fear. It's a monster that is really close to us, that is in our familiar environment, inside our house, under our bed, in our wardrobes. And that's the type of creature we wanted to feature and create.
We were given a quick preview of how the killer looks, how the survivor looks, and how the map looks. But before we could even take it all in, we were whiplashed away from the new chapter and immediately thrown into the announcement of another chapter.
It seems like just yesterday that during our 5th anniversary, we revealed to you that we were going to do a Resident Evil chapter. Your reaction was so good at the time that we wondered, why stop there?
On the same day, the same hour Roots of Dread was announced, so was Project W. As we all know present day, Project W would be the most played debut of any chapter in Dead by Daylight's history. And now you can understand that this is where everything went downhill for the Dredge. To my knowledge, this was the first time they'd ever announced 2 chapters on the same day, and, not surprisingly, it's also the last time they announced 2 chapters on one day. Let me make this clear, they weren't giving us sneak peeks. They weren't hinting at who's coming next. They told us everything that was coming. And one might think it's not a big deal. People were probably equally excited for both. Wesker is the most played debut of any character in this game ever. These 2 killers were not created nor advertised equal. Putting balance aside for 1 second and strictly looking at everything else, Roots of Dread was an incredibly well done chapter. The map had a lot of identity to it. It felt unique, it felt new. The survivor was interesting. The killer was exactly what I wanted, and I'm sure many others did too. But we didn't even get 10 minutes with this new chapter before they were already on to the next. In typical behavior fashion, the survivor release looking nothing like the trailer, the map immediately was called for a rework, but the killer was actually really well designed. And Nightfall was such an interesting ability, there's nothing else in the game like it. And like I've already said, the map was at least unique. Can you even criticize behavior for releasing an unbalanced map when that's literally all they're capable of? You can't knock this chapter for that when every other chapter released in the last couple years have faced the same issue of map imbalance. Every single map announced for Dead by Daylight in the last couple of years has all needed a rework because they're never balanced correctly. What I'm trying to say is this chapter didn't deserve extra criticism when every other chapter had faced the same issue, even Wesker. So what happened? Why was the Dredge such an underwhelming release? Why didn't people care? Why did people look right past him on his release day? Because they were all waiting for Wesker. Like I said, this was the first and only time 2 killers were announced on the same day, but what you need to understand is they showed the whole cinematic trailer. They didn't just show what killer was next, they showed the entire cinematic trailer, which is usually saved for the day the killer releases on the PTB. They released it 3 months earlier than they normally do. They were clearly very excited for this chapter, and that's okay. But the problem with fixating everyone's vision on the future is that they completely overlook the present. The present being a very well thought out, very well executed chapter that everyone would immediately forget about not even a week later. If you disagree with what I'm saying, or maybe think my points are a reach, look at the audience interest level. While scrolling through YouTube videos, you can see the interest levels by seeing what parts are replayed the most. For this announcement and this stream, people replayed Wesker's portion more than they replayed Dredge's. So yes, the devs would be correct in thinking that everyone would be very excited for a Wesker trailer, but what they didn't think is how it would affect their current chapter. The chapter for Dredge would release in the following weeks, and it saw one of the greatest spikes on Steam charts in DBD's history, but also one of the hardest dive bombs. And it could be because Wesker's release date was really poorly communicated at first, and a lot of people thought he was coming sooner rather than later, and then ended the anniversary event right after that with no further explanation. I am not saying Project W was a bad chapter in any way. I truly believe it's deserving of being the most successful chapter in the franchise, but I'm frustrated because Roots of Dread was also really well done. Just like every other chapter release, it has its flaws. Behavior has never been good at releases. If you've played this game for a while, do you guys remember the Twins release? That's not what this video is about, but I'm just saying, they're not great at releasing a finished product. Their maps always need reworks, their character models look fucky, and their perks are usually a disaster. And yes, we were met with underwhelming perks such as Inner Focus and Overzealous, but we were also given Residual Manifest. We were met with mediocre killer perks like Septic Touch, but we were also given Darkness Revealed and Dissolution. They're great perks, and I still see those two killer perks almost every day I play this game. I bring that up because Wesker's perks would go on to be a lot more niche. Terminus, Awakened Awareness, and Superior Anatomy. They would need to be stacked with other perks to be useful. I'm not here to pin the chapters against each other. They're both great chapters, but what I am here to say is Roots of Dread deserve the spotlight that every other chapter got. And I'm not blaming the audience. I'm not blaming the consumers, the players of the game. I'm blaming behavior. This marketing decision to show the cinematic trailer for the killer that you're releasing in the PTB the same exact day, to then whiplash your viewers into watching another full cinematic trailer of a killer that everyone is clearly more excited about. I can't tell you that Dredge would have been a soaring success if it weren't for the announcement of Project W, but I can say there's a much higher chance that people would have taken in and enjoyed Roots of Dread more if they didn't have their eyes set on something else already. This is not an objective opinion. This is not an official rundown of Behavior's marketing strategies. This is a video from someone that was really sad to see such a great chapter fall flat. Anyways, obviously the discussion doesn't end here. You're welcome to comment how you feel, and I would love to discuss essentially anything about Roots of Dread with you. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.